I just got to attend a Q&A with some Apex developers and they answered some burning questions like what's going to happen with movement in the game and are we going to get any new weapons? So let's go over some juicy stuff and thank you EA and Respawn for making this possible. Starting off though, I did submit a question which has been in my head for a long time. Are new weapons on the table for Apex at all? Because the last weapon we got, the Nemesis, was released nearly 10 seasons ago, which is insane actually. The answer I got is that Respawn are currently focusing on the existing weapon pool, and they're trying to find a sweet spot for the current weapons. For example, the bow check got a rework in Season 25, the charge rifle recently got a rework, and stuff like reverse hipfire has been added to the LMG weapon pool to change how LMGs were used, for better or for worse. And Respawn are aware of the fact that the weapons fill a specific niche and have different roles, and adding in a new weapon could overlap or do a disservice to existing weapons they've tried so hard to balance. So if they add another SMG, what's the point? Because we've already got the car, we've got the R99, we've got the alternator, we've got the Volt, you know? And from what I could gather, it seems like the current aim for Respawn with weapons is to refine the pool of currently existing weapons. Although Respawn did say that's not to say new weapons will never come out, and maybe they will find a niche they want to fill that can be filled with a new weapon. So from what I can gather, the game doesn't really need a new weapon right now, and Respawn don't want to add a new weapon for the sake of it, which I can understand. And it seems like they are waiting for the perfect time to add a new weapon, maybe because of demands of a legend that's not out yet or a map that's not out yet. And on the topic of refining weapons that are currently in the game, Respawn said they would rather make qualitative changes to weapons instead of just jiggling the values about. So maybe expect more weapon reworks in the future. And as to what weapons Respawn want to rework, they said when looking for guns to change, they usually look for the worst offenders on both extremes. So either weapons that people don't want to use because they're too bad, like the P20 before it got akimbo, or weapons that just annoy everybody, like the charge rifle before it had hit scan taken away from it. And honestly, as much as I want a new weapon, I think Respawn are making the right move. Make the actual pool of weapons right now all usable and meaningful, and maybe one day a perfect opportunity for a new weapon will come. And honestly, I like Respawn's recent approach to adding new weapons, where they add limited time weapons, like the power sword, the buster sword, and the EPG. For this Q&A, I did submit another question asking what's the plan and sentiment for movement in Apex as we move forward, and could we see other legends getting movement abilities like Ash's dash? And honestly, the developers answered this really well and really transparently. They started by saying that Apex wants to reward aggressive play, and movement enables the aggressive play. And also, movement is exciting and can have a huge skill ceiling. And they believe that Ash's dash has been a net fun addition to the game. And I think we can all agree, the pick rates do not lie. People are loving the Ash dash. And then Respawn said something that shocked me. They don't want to just slap the dash and double jump on every legend and let everybody play it out, because they actually tested this. Yes, they actually did play tests where they gave everybody dash or similar movement abilities and it didn't really work. They said on the face of it, it makes sense, but it just made actual gameplay too unpredictable, as when you look at an Ash, you know she might dash out of the way when you shoot her, but when every legend has the dash, it just makes the game really unpredictable and you don't know where anybody or anything will be in 2 seconds. From what they said, it seems like it just made the game totally unreadable and annoying, and you know what, if everybody did have the Ash dash, I would imagine it would make the game a bit of a nightmare. They literally said it wasn't fun to play. But from what I took away from this, Respawn still do see the value in movement abilities, and if they want to add more movement mechanics, they would be added through legend kits. So honestly, if we see more legends with movement abilities in the future, I would not be surprised at all. They also said they're aware that not everybody wants to play movement, which is why they're trying to create a counterbalance to the dash and double jump, so players don't feel like they have to play like that, which they've clearly done with Wattson. Watson's fences now take away dash charges from Ashes and also double jump charges from Sparrows, so I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw more legends reworked to counter movement, because if Respawn are going to add more movement, they have to add ways to counter it for people who just don't want to do it. But they did say expect dash and double jump to stay, and it is part of the game, which is great. For actual movement tech in the game which is not legend ability specific, like super jumps or maybe wall bounces, Respawn said the team is looking for ways to bring the movement experience to more players, and they just want to open up movement to players. Now, they shared no specific plans, but they did kind of reference it would be really nice if there was some sort of guide in the game to show you how to do some aspects of it. So maybe one day we'll have a tutorial level teaching Timmy how to mantle jump. I only just learned how to mantle jump today for a video that's coming out next week, so keep your eye out for that, by the way. So for this question, it was really nice to see Respawn seeing the value in movement and also saying we're not going to remove it, but we are going to add ways to counter it. And also, it seems like more movement abilities are going to be introduced in the future. Back in the mid-season update, I did theorize that this was the case, and I'm glad it is. Also, if they do, it will be really interesting to see how Respawn lean into the movement mechanics side of Apex. We have seen them display movement mechanics in trailers before, like tap strafes and wall jumps, so them adding a tutorial or something really isn't out of the question in my head. I did submit another question that got answered in this Q&A, and honestly, I tried to submit my best hard hitters. I asked, what was the biggest lesson learned from the recent years of developing Apex? Because obviously we're all aware of how the recent years of Apex has gone, and Respawn have changed their approach, so I was wondering, have they taken any real lessons away? And honestly, what they said makes sense looking at the last few updates of Apex. They said they're thinking about what new stuff is drawing people in and how they can increase the speed of production, and they want to keep making cool qualitative changes to the game. And they said there has been a big shift in the philosophy. Also, they've been trying really hard at getting hot fixes in and addressing balance changes and responding as quick as possible with as much transparency as possible. And we can see this recently. The qualitative changes can definitely be seen with the reworks that have been happening. There's been a lot of reworks. Respawn are trying to make every corner of the game quality and not just something you might look over. And from my perspective, they've been trying to make everything viable. Like if there's a weapon that's bad, they've been trying to make it viable, maybe a bit too viable. And also it's clear that slowly they're trying to make every legend viable. Recently we've had a Watson rework, we also had an Alter, an Ash, a Ballistic rework, and all these legends are really high up in the pick rates now. So once they get around to reworking most of the legends, the game should feel a lot more balanced, and also the meta should feel a lot more balanced. I mean, at least I hope so, because I'm so infuriated by seeing a Ballistic in every lobby. I genuinely hate that guy now. Another question that was asked in this Q&A which really made me laugh was, can Path remain as he is, or does he have changes planned? I think Pathfinder mains are genuinely scared that Pathfinder's in too good of a position, and Respawn have to knock him down. He can't be too good. And Respawn said they're satisfied with where he is right now, his fun and not causing frustration. And I think Respawn kind of want that with the game. They want every legend to be fun and not cause frustration. I think it's definitely a hard balance to strike, especially with legends like Alter, who kind of fundamentally cause frustration. Like obviously, if you've knocked someone and they teleport away, you're not exactly going to be happy. But honestly, from making news videos for this game for 4 years now, I can definitely see how Apex has been moving more towards fun. Another question that was asked, which is kind of similar to the weapon question, was have there been any discussions on new throwables? And Respawn said in the past they have prototyped new throwables, but it's definitely a hard balance to strike, because having a throwable that's a silence will be too frustrating and too powerful, or having a throwable that's an EMP could be the same. I think this comes down to fun once again. Respawn want a throwable that's fun to be hit by, I guess, and also fun to throw. And from what I gather, I think the philosophy at Respawn around throwables is that non-damaging throwables like an EMP or silence would kind of betray the throwable slot. And also from what I can gather from what they were saying, I think if they find like a cool throwable, they usually end up realizing it might just be better as a legend ability. It seems throughout prototyping they just haven't found something that fits in the throwable slot, and tests rarely end up what they want and need to be. And I really wish Respawn told us what throwables they were prototyping. I would love to hear if they maybe like prototyped a frost grenade, which was in Apex Mobile, or maybe they did prototype an EMP grenade. It would be pretty interesting to hear about. I doubt they would ever add a nade that silences your abilities, especially because it seems like they're trying to make the Arc Star silence certain abilities, as it can now take away dash charges as well. Once again, I think Respawn are just trying to add value to the stuff that's currently in game before evaluating adding more stuff. That's just my opinion though. But honestly, it was great to be added to a Q&A, so thank you EA and Respawn, because I did get to ask my heavy hitters, you know. Everyone's wanted to know, are there new weapons on the table for a long time? And I guess now we have the answer, like it or not. And also, I'm glad to hear that Respawn see the value in movement. I really want to see more movement abilities. Anyway, subscribe if you want more videos like this.